Greetings, I am Samantha Thornhill. I am the creator of the Black Unicorn Journal of Passions for Kids and the Black Unicorn Teen Journal of Passions. This is a self-discovery, self-awareness, self-definition tool for young people. And this is just a brief overview of the intent behind the journal and ways in which you can use it with the young people that you serve. Thank you for being here and for doing this work. It's very vital, and I applaud you. What you should know about these two versions is that they're essentially the same in terms of the prompts that are included in the journals. They're the same prompts, but the graphics are age appropriate for the younger kids and for the cool teenagers, okay? So if you have a mixed context in which you have middle school and elementary school and high school in the same space, the great thing is the journals are the same, so you'll be able to use them together. But I definitely suggest, letting the teens be in their circle and letting the younger kids be in their circle. And this tool works best when the kids are split up into groups of 8 to 12. When it's too many kids, it can get pretty chaotic, but 8 to 12 kids per group is great. And this is a relational tool. So while people can sit down and do this on their own, in their own silo, that's lovely. I have done the journal that way. But this is meant to be a relational tool to be used with pairs and with cohorts. So the purpose of this tool being used in a group context is because it's a way of learning about yourself, learning about others, and learning about yourself through the mirrors that others hold up. It helps people to understand, I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one that feels this way. So it immediately helps people to feel seen because they're realizing that their stories are reflected in others' writings. So the way that I like to use these tools, I like to start everyone out in a circle where everyone is facing one another and have some sort of icebreaker conversation. It could be, for instance, there's a page here called Interview. This is what I like to call the icebreaker page. In this page, Interview, you'll see a bunch of questions. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite book? What's your favorite instrument? You can use these icebreaker questions all throughout your time with the young people, day after day, week after week. You can just pick an icebreaker conversation. Hey, what's your favorite color? And it gets them in the practice, in the culture of talking with one another. So pick a page. This one is activities that I most enjoy. Pick a page and give the young people maybe 10 to 15 minutes in silence to write. And you put it on a timer so that they know when the timer goes off, and make that part of the ritual. Right, you know your young people. I think it's good to start out with 10 minutes, but what you'll see is when they get more accustomed to the practice, especially when we get more in depth with the prompts, other prompts later on that are a little bit more, of a deep dive, you might want to give them 15 minutes. And you'll get to gauge whether that time is too much or not enough. Okay, so you will temper that to your age group and to your kids. And so give them some time to write in silence. And when they're finished, it's very simple, actually. They share. I like to do it popcorn style, where, one person just, decides they want to go first. There's always that one that's ready to share. And then there are the others that are like hanging back and like don't want to share at all. But it's important that everyone's voice gets heard and we get children in the practice of saying who they are. This is what self-definition is. It's who you are and who you're not, and what you're here for and what you're not here for, what your role is in your life and in your society. So we're helping them to understand themselves in the greater context of their world. And part of that is learning how to speak. So the kid that goes first will read or share either what they've written, or they don't have to share what they've written. They can share something about their process. They can share what they've learned. They can share if it was difficult for them. They can share anything about the writing or the writing. I don't force people to share their writings because sometimes their writings might be private and they might not be comfortable sharing. And I think that's fair. And I think that we should definitely let them know that they don't have to share their writings, because we want them to know that they decide if they want to have an audience or not. But we want them to write something truthful. So there's an interesting balance where you let them know that their thoughts are private, their writings are private, and then they can choose to share an aspect of their writing or an aspect of their process if they don't want to share their writing. And for kids that have something really came up for them and they're in an emotional space, they can pass. Maybe they get 5 passes, for the summer, and they can use their pass, like where they just choose not to share anything. It depends on the culture that you want to create with this, but I encourage that everyone says something. And so that's it. They go around in a circle, popcorning it to each other. After someone reads, they will call another person, and they have to call someone that has not gone yet. And this also causes kids to sort of pay attention to who has gone before, and it entices listening. And it also keeps kind of people on their toes. You don't know if you're going to get called next, right? So there's like something about that lean in to, am I going to go next? That I think is quite fun. I want you to also notice that the back pages of all of the journals are blank. That's just giving them the freedom. Maybe some kids might end up really writing something of substance and they don't have enough space on the front page, and then they can spill over onto the back page. My son personally likes to draw when he's finished with his writing. So they can draw, they can write the first draft of a poem, because a lot of these, for kids that are actually pretty astute writers, some of these prompts form is like a type of pre-writing. But if they want to write something more in depth, then they could flip it over to the back, right? So after everyone popcorns, it's good to keep it moving, but sometimes kids will have comments to each other about what they've written. So I encourage kids, if they want to comment on each other's writings, they can start off with statements like, I like that you said this. Or I wonder if blah, blah, blah. Or I notice that you like a lot of the same things I do, right? So those are the 3 push-off statements. I like, I notice, and I wonder. So for kids that are just now learning this sort of socio-emotional exercise of listening to each other and sharing aspects of their inner lives, I like, I notice, and I wonder. It's just a good thing for them a good metric, for them to use, rubric I'll say, for them to use to respond to each other's work. I like to give students a chance to respond to each other, because I think that's what fosters the group bond. When people are able to receive feedback from their peers, and it helps people to understand that they're being heard, that they're being seen. And this is what I think a lot of our young people need. They need to be able to be in positions to see each other, not for the clothes that they're wearing or for who they hang out with, but for who they actually are, right? So that's basically it. Choose a prompt, write for 10 to 15 minutes, popcorn share, I like, I notice, I wonder, and they can reflect on something that they discovered about themselves, because the whole enterprise is self-discovery. So we want to look for those moments where a young person is surprised by something that they wrote or something that came out of them. We're trying to push in on those moments, try to help them to extract what they're actually learning about themselves. And I'll share something that my son said to me once. And my son is 8, well, he's 9 now, and he does not come to writing enthusiastically. Let me just be very clear. And a lot of kids aren't. They're not going to come to this like, yay, we get to write. They see it as like an extension of school. You will get some resistance. You will get some pushback. But my son, he grumbles, he groans, and then he sits down and he does his writing. And one day after he finished his writing, he was in a better mood when he finished. And I said, how do you feel, son? And he said, I feel smarter because I know more about myself. And this is what I hope for your young stars, that they will feel a greater sense of worth and for knowing themselves better, and that they actually understand that true intelligence comes from a knowledge of self, not from anything anyone tells you, but from what you know about yourself. We want our children to be self-knowledgeable, self-learners, self-aware warriors in this life so that they can better navigate circumstances and make decisions that are in line with their personal integrity. And they are the ones that are going to have to dig down inside of themselves and search for that. And this is what these tools are here to do. The Black Unicorn Method is very simple. I've used it in many different contexts. I've used it in remote contexts as well as personal contexts, and it works. I look forward to hearing more from you about how this process goes and how it treats your children. And I thank you so much for, again, being here to do this work, this necessary work with our young people that are in dire need of themselves. Thank you.